Hello and welcome to the Angry Microwave. I'm Brad. With me is Callum. We're here today with a special, bit of a downer as well episode of the Angry Microwave today. A bit of breaking news has just happened, courtesy of Warner Brothers. Believe it or not, Callum, I'm not actually at the Warner Brothers lot.
What?
This is green
No,
screen.
no,
I
no,
know.
no.
Yeah,
If
this is the.
if we say you are, it gives an excuse for us doing this remotely now. So paging in from
Oh
Los
well,
Angeles,
yes.
from Burbank, is Bradley Evans.
Put a little scroll down the bottom where it says, LA reporter or something. So, yeah, a bit of breaking news that you just messaged me about. Warner Brothers are set to debut their entire 2021 film catalogue on HBO Max and in theatres simultaneously. Is that correct?
That is
Is that
correct.
what essentially is happening
That
here?
news is
And
absolutely
this
mad.
is big news because originally it was only a matter of days ago, I think, that they said that they were going to do the same thing for Wonder Woman, and everyone assumed that that was going to be a one-off in this instance.
Well, they said it
And
was going to be
given
a
the
one-off.
talks,
They made it very clear in their press release it was a one-off, and now, yeah.
well, they're liars, essentially. Now this is big news, I think. For many reasons, I think the biggest thing to come out of this isn't just that they're going to do a simultaneous release for online and in cinemas. I think things were always going to head that way temporarily. I think things were always going to lean that way when cinemas reopen again globally. What surprises me is that it's for the entirety of 2021, and we have some big names in 21 coming from Warner Brothers. So do you want to go through the list? I don't know if you have a list in front of you
Yeah, I do.
of
I
the
do.
films that aren't going to be exclusively to cinemas, or there's not going to be like a grace period where they're in cinemas for 4 weeks and then it goes to streaming. All these are going to go to HBO Max on day one.
Well, most importantly, I've just seen this for the first time. Lin-Manuel Miranda's In the Heights is going to go straight to VOD and in cinemas same day.
Yep.
Space Jam, the new Space Jam. Suicide Squad, that's a big one. That's a potential billion-dollar movie they've just like thrown away. Like, that's mad. Also, within that, you got Dune, which obviously got delayed from the past December through to next December. King Richard, Matrix 4. Like there's 4 or 5 like billion-dollar films here, and it just seems
Yep.
insane. Like, I would have thought that they would have waited to see Wonder Woman's results and then seen what it does. But it's just, no, it's mad that they're just going with this. And also, I believe it's not a premium charge. Just if you've got HBO Max, you've got Wonder Woman, which
Oh,
is,
really?
I believe that's the case. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I believe it's not. It's not like a Premier Access. It is just nope. HBO Max, you've got it, which is kind of insane. Like, I'm going to have to look about how to acquire HBO Max in the coming weeks when I jet over to America on my holidays every month.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, well, join me over here in LA. I've got access to all their streaming service.
But yeah, it's
So
massive. And also, just to say, so we believe the deal for the UK will be so it'll be similar to Wonder Woman, which is where it will have a cinema release for a month, and then Sky seem to be interested in buying the film after a month. Whether that goes to Sky Cinema or Sky Store, we don't know. But I would presume Sky Cinema. Could you imagine the amount of drives up? Well, yeah, the amount of sign-ups that Sky Cinema would get if they say, like, you're going to get In the Heights, Space Jam, Matrix 4 a month after they come out in cinemas.
I personally do not see any of those going free to air on or through the Sky subscription service. I'm willing to make a big bet with you now, a cheeky £20, Callum, on the line for you right now, that none of these go on. Well, not none of them, but the big names at least will be on pay-per-view, basically. And that seems to be how that relationship works over here. Because I think that there's a few examples, which obviously I can't think of off the top of my head now, where we've been able to stream them. They've been in cinemas. A month later, we've been able to stream them, but you have to pay something ridiculous like 20 quid to watch them on a one-off. That's what I imagine is going to happen. But like you say, just the fact they're going on streaming services same day in the US as they are in cinemas, I think is an absolutely crazy bombshell. And you got to think, no, we did our last video, I think it was our last video, we were talking about the effect of cinemas closing for the foreseeable future, and they're probably not going to open properly or nationwide over here until Easter or after Easter time. If from January, which I can imagine some of these films are, Christmas, which is when Wonder Woman's coming out, there aren't many cinemas open. And when they do open, are people still going to be confident enough to actually go to the cinemas, or are they going to wait and watch it at home?
See, this is why I'm a bit kind of like peeved with this whole deal. This should have happened in 2020, and it would have had a much bigger impact. It would have supported cinemas throughout this, because cinemas needed content, and part of the reason they closed was that there wasn't any content. And it's just like, when we're currently talking about, so in the UK, vaccines started arriving today. And obviously over the next few months we'll get it. It just seems really weird that they're basically writing off the whole of 2021 up front without even testing that this works. But if they'd have done this in 2020, their schedule wouldn't have been so packed. It would have helped their HBO Max. It would have helped that. It just seems like it's a little bit too late, and it feels like they should have adapted like in 2020, because they would have owned this year's blockbuster slate, because like nothing's been released. They would have owned that, like we would have had In the Heights, which was ready to come out. I don't know what other films were originally went. Oh, Dune. Well, Dune would have been here. They would have been all these
Wonder Woman obviously would have come out as well. But I think what's important to remember here is that Warner Brothers are taking care of their business, and HBO Max wasn't getting or isn't getting the numbers that they thought it was going to get, and that's is made to look twice as bad when you see the great numbers that Disney Plus is doing. And obviously Netflix is king of the hill and probably will be for the foreseeable future anyway. So HBO Max needs the content for people to sub to. And with the amount of films that they've got here, and like you say, especially because most of these films are finished already, because they're meant to come out this year, what's to stop them from doing one film a month or one big film a month and just releasing it that way? You know, encouraging people to sub to the service, because the sad fact is most people aren't like us and they don't have subscriptions to cinemas. They don't pay, a yearly fee or a monthly fee to watch as many films as they want. Their version of that, like a majority of the population, is to sit at home and stream. And if people are going to be paying, $16 in the US for HBO Max, which is the most expensive one, people weren't signing up because there isn't the content on there.
Yeah.
But when you look at all the things that are, that are scheduled to come out now, then that's clearly going to boost their numbers.
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to see how or if Disney Plus responds to this. So there's been talks for ages about having a premium version. I think people were touting it as Disney 18 Plus, which is basically like it'll have the more like so it'll basically have like the Deadpool 2 is kind of like all the R-rated Fox catalog on there. And it'd be interesting to see whether they include Premier Access on there as well. Because I don't know whether they respond or not. That's the issue. Like, do they need to respond? Like, they're not playing the same game as HBO Max.
No, but that's the thing. But they are competitors, because they're in the same way that cinema chains are competitors. Like, they can even have the same product, but they are competitors. Everyone wants their own business to thrive over everyone else's. And it's fascinating that we were on a Zoom call yesterday with cheeky Chris Nolan, who actually addressed this. And Chris Nolan is someone who works closely with Warner Brothers and has done his entire career. So I'd be fascinated to see what he thinks about this.
Yeah, I mean, we would have saw Tenet go to VOD if that was the case.
Yeah. And he was saying to us personally yesterday that he doesn't see streaming services to really be in competition with cinemas, because they're two separate entities, and cinemas had more people through the doors last year than they had done in about since 1987, I think he said. But the fact of the matter is, this year is a completely different ballgame. It just simply is. Like just the amount of content that is on streaming services now. I mean, when was Disney Plus launched? I mean, can you actually account for Disney Plus and HBO Max in those figures? Because I don't think you can.
But I'm just thinking, like, from a family point of view, like for everyone in my family, I feel like if HBO Max was in the UK, like that is better value for money next year for me. Disney Plus, it has a great catalog. Don't get me wrong, but like HBO Max has most of the time, I believe, Harry Potter. So that's like, and also I feel like The Office may be moving to HBO Max in America.
Right.
So like they've got these, yeah, they've got all these tempos. So
Hmm.
potentially, like if I had to choose either or, next year this kind of sells me HBO Max by a long way. Like if you think how much people have been charging for these, for these premium VODs, like
Hmm.
$30 I think is around the price, and if you times that by like, I think there's like maybe 20 titles, that is a massive saving. Like,
Yeah, it is. And like you say, I mean, the average cinema goer, to be honest, we were talking about Bond a couple of months ago, or was it last month? Was it yesterday? Who knows? Because time isn't real at the moment. But we were talking about Bond, and I honestly think that a majority of people, if Bond went on to Apple, then I think the everyday viewer would be happy to sign up to a trial or pay 1 month to watch Bond because you know. I think if there was an option between going to the cinema and watching it and saying to our parents, "Do you want to spend a tenner with me and we can stream Bond tonight, the new Bond," they'll be like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" I think that's the way that the casual viewer is going now, unfortunately.
yeah, I think definitely these newer streaming services like Apple Plus, they're gonna have to pull out all the stops next year to now try and beat HBO Max.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know, like, I don't know how Apple would do that. Like, maybe they do try and get the MGM deal now and try and acquire Bond at last minute. Because, like, could you imagine, like, nobody's deciding between this and Apple Plus, Apple TV Plus. Like, there's no
No,
competition in it. And I know the price
no.
points are quite different, but still, like if you've got to choose, like it just blows Apple TV Plus out of the water now, and even
Hmm.
Netflix to a point. I think we'll see more acquisitions from Netflix, as many as they can afford over the next
Yeah.
few months to try and kind of like compete to this. And I think next year, like with HBO Max coming in with this, it is going to be the battle of the streamers next year. We're going to see them like they're going to be starved for content, like productions have slowed down,
Hmm.
and the price of these final films, like from these smaller studios like Lionsgate, they're going to go up massively to try and be acquired.
Yeah. And I think it's fascinating. You were talking about the catalog that Apple has compared to something like a HBO Max, which is obviously owned by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is one of the oldest and most well-established film studios there is. Their back catalog goes through the entirety of cinema, really. And I think even like cinephiles would be interested in signing up to HBO Max if they had a lot of like, for example, their screwball comedies in the 1930s, like something that I absolutely love. I'm just flexing a little bit there because I did a dissertation on it. But like that's something that I would subscribe to HBO Max if I no longer had to spend 30 quid on a Blu-ray to get access to a film that wasn't properly distributed over here because it was, released 90 years ago.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
just something like that.
yeah, I think the other biggest talking point, which we haven't really talked about, is trying to see like how they're going to release internationally about this. So I presume the Sky thing
Hmm.
doesn't happen, and to be fair, the UK is like really close to the US in terms of how things work. If you start going out to those broader markets, kind of like your China's, and like maybe Canada, I don't know if HBO Max is over there. Like, what do they do? Because like, let's not lie, piracy is a thing, and like shock horror, and people will acquire these films. So I don't know like whether they debut early internationally like Wonder Woman is, which is only 2 weeks. But then equally, it like if you're savvy enough to pirate a film, like you just gotta wait 2 weeks if you're not gonna go. Am I breaking the internet rules? I'm not meant to mention
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
If
I can't believe this is new to me.
but like people will find a way like to get these films. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they manage it. I just don't understand. Like there's like four or five potential $1 billion films here. So they're investing so much in the HBO Max works. Like they've like doubled
Yeah,
down and a bit,
yeah.
and like they've near enough invested like well over $5 billion into this in worth of content.
I am fascinated to know actually how much Tenet and the really fractured release of Tenet is actually playing into this because Tenet is currently being released in Los Angeles or is it New York
Hmm.
for the first time. We got that months ago, obviously, and if there's no end in sight to when they can actually get the cinemas back up to normal, then they're going to want to have an outlet for these films because not releasing them is a lot worse than putting them all on HBO Max. I know they're all billion-dollar films, but as we were talking about with in our Bond video, um, like at what point do people actually start getting pissed off with these constant delays and the constant marketing for a film that's getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back? Because my excitement levels for Bond have absolutely plummeted, because how many times have we been building up to the movie and excited to watch it, and suddenly it doesn't happen?
Yeah, I've
But one thing that HBO Max is doing is that I think they're getting fanfare, because look at the response to the Snyder cut that's coming,
oh mate, I even forgot that they've got that next year.
with yeah. And honestly, I'm actually excited for that because of the journey that film's gone through. Now, I didn't like Justice League at all, but I did really like Batman v Superman. So I'm actually fascinated to see what happens with that. And as such, I think they've created a lot of goodwill with the subscriber base, because they gave the people what they wanted, and what the people want is to see the movies they want to see. And like you say, piracy's real, VPNs are real. People will find a way to watch the movies they want, and if they can't do that in cinemas, they're going to find a way to watch it anyway.
Yeah, like that perspective that even now the Snyder Cut looks minuscule in terms of like the Suicide Squad, Dune, the new
Mhm.
Kong movie. Like it just seems tiny. So I've just done some maths. So watch out, guys, maths time. So so
Have a little
180.
banner that says "Maths with Callum."
So HBO Max is $180 for a year, and that's based on $15. So if we estimate about $5 billion worth of revenue, it would normally be higher than that. I think there's about 20 films here and $5 billion films, so I've underestimated. That would require 27 million households to get it to make its money back in a year. Like, and that presumes that they stay like subscribed. That is some mad numbers, and I don't understand. Like,
Well, that is where I honestly, I can guarantee you that when it comes over to the UK, for example, it's not going to be free to air on Sky, because they're going to want to take money from the punters in any way they can with this. Because, and that's probably one of the reasons why they're not doing HBO Max globally. Because if they can put their movies on like a pay-per-view, but make them free for viewing over in the US, that they're going to do that because they can make money from us that way.
yeah, Sky's in a really weird position in the UK where it's not in direct competition with streamers because it's like a cable network still, and they don't really have
Yeah.
many good apps. Like Now TV's a thing, but it's not particularly the most smooth app, I would say. Like it's not a Netflix or it's not a Apple. But
No.
yeah, it's just really interesting to see where this goes. Like I hope cinemas, and also the other thing about this is it was only a matter of months ago where Cineworld's CEO, who also owns Cinemark in America, was like, "Over my grave, will we ever have like day and date releases?" And now, like you look at this, and it's like, what are they gonna do? Like they need these
Hmm.
films. Like next year, they need
Yeah.
these films,
Yeah.
and they're gonna have to take back their words on this and try and work out a deal. We've already seen that, like Universal have started to have their 30-day windows now, and they're close to getting a deal with Cinemark and Cineworld. Maybe it's Regal, I don't know, but yeah, it's just mad to see how much things have changed in a few months, especially towards the end of, well, hopefully the end of the major part of the pandemic. It just, yeah, that's what I can't get my head around. Is 6 months ago, sure, makes total sense. Now, when we're looking to like a light at the end of a tunnel, and they've pulled this out, that's what gets me, and that's what baffles me. And the other thing as well, like I previously said, is I thought they would have waited to see how Wonder Woman does internationally before they make
Yeah.
this decision. They've gone down and basically committed now. They can't go back on what they've said now because those HBO Max customers, they're going to be expecting these 20 odd films. Now they've come out and
Hmm.
said it.
Yeah. And for me, and I'd like to pose this question to the three people watching. Um, so I would always choose whether I have to drive, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever, to watch The Matrix 4 in the cinema. That is what I'm going to do. That is my choice. But what would the general public do if they could stay at home? And this is a question to you: if you could stay at home and watch The Matrix 4 as part of a subscription service you already pay for, or would you go to the cinema? Like, what would your choice be? And bearing in mind, we don't know the release date of this, but let's say it's in the next couple of months. what is your preference? Because I know both of us would love to watch a movie like that on the big screen, but has the general public's mood towards cinemas soured, and they've now become accustomed to watching everything from home?
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating next year seeing how this plays out with all the other streamers as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's it from us. Let us know in the comments what you think. It's a very divisive topic. I find people are either like, yeah, everything should be on demand, or there should be a thing. I'm personally in the middle. I feel like there's a nice ground to be found, but yeah, we will see.
Yeah. Yes. So thank you for watching. I'm sure we'll talk about this, um, in more detail as and when we get details that come through. But yeah, please do let us know what it is that you think. We're going to be talking about The Mandalorian, something that we are both in love with tomorrow. So we will see you shortly.
Goodbye.